Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. I think Brené Brown is willing to admit things to us about herself that so many of us are not willing to admit to ourselves. But the way she talks about herself almost makes us think to ourselves, okay, maybe I'm dealing with things like this and maybe it's okay to admit these things. This is the greatest thing I think about her as an author, because her work reflects onto the listener or reader in some way through some medium or mediums. I don't know if it's her storytelling, I don't know if it's her authenticity, or the unfortunately rare line of work that she does. It's gotta be something, but whatever it is, it's definitely there. I said in my review of her book, Dare to Lead, even with her ability to smash that like button if you haven't already for the YouTube algorithm, it helps with ranking and SEO and all this other stuff, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. You'd be surprised. A lot of work really does go into making these videos. And captivate and teach us how to kind of rumble with many of our insecurities. Some of what she talks about still sounds kind of vague from time to time. I don't think this is anyone's fault. I think that this is something that it's like a work in progress. And since I discovered her through this book a couple years ago, she has definitely gotten better at conveying her messages and stuff in a way that does not sound vague. I really think it's just the topic at hand that sounds vague. I think that until her messages and ideas are so globally etched into the mass consciousness, then it's going to be really difficult. So it's not at all that I don't agree with them, it's just that I think what she's doing is extremely difficult to do. She wants to start a nationwide conversation about shame. How many people are comfortable talking about what they're shameful of? Name one person. I don't know anyone who's like that. It takes guts. It seriously does. The only reason I can do it at this point is because of how much I've chewed on and swallowed her work. In today's culture, we are in a period of serious change in talking about trusting people and opening yourself up to other people, let alone strangers. In environments of ego and scarcity and blame and pain where we are all at each other's throats. It is not even easy to bring shame and what you feel bad about. It's really hard to bring that up without feeling worse about it because of people's responses. But like I said, when you talk about trust and vulnerability, it's hard to talk about them without sounding super vague. This is when I said whatever it is, it's there, that's what I was talking about. Somehow she ends up able to get her points across very ably. Oh my gosh, all that time and I couldn't have come up with a better word. I don't even know if ably is a word. So despite that, I don't even know what braving means. But braving, for her, with this book, is an acronym for the 7 elements of trusting someone else or trusting yourself, what those are. So let's talk about those. B is boundaries, making sure you understand what is and is not okay. R is reliability, doing what you say you'll do. A is accountability, owning your mistakes. Vault is keeping things confidential. Integrity. Integrity. Choosing courage over comfort and what is right over what is fast and easy. This one is probably my favorite because this one I oscillate in and out of doing my best and worst most often. N is non-judgment, self-explanatory. G is generosity. If you have to assume something, assume the most most generous interpretation that you can. What I've found is that, again, this is the stuff that I've learned from her books, is that when I have trouble trusting people, it's because these things, the 7 elements that we just talked about, are not there. And when they're not there, it makes it harder for me to trust myself. You ever experienced something like this? This is a common downward spiral that I think a lot of people experience at different points in their lives. Some people live in them. And they never look the other way because they're not convinced that there is another way. Which really scares me, I don't know about you. But that other way, it seems, is the wilderness that we have to brave. #bars. Loneliness is a perceived social isolation. And there is a loneliness epidemic. going on right now. 20% of Americans reported feeling lonely in 1980. Today, that percentage has doubled. When Brene talks about her husband Steve and her children, it makes you feel like she and you are longtime friends. But what she says about fear and terrorism is crazy. Halfway through, she goes into this ginormous rant about just all these different things, like the NRA and politics and like activism. When she talks about all these epidemics and how bad everything seems to be, what separates Brene Brown from other authors who would just talk about how bad everything's getting is that she addresses it in a way that says we need to bring these issues to the surface because it's possible to fix and we need to see that. The political rhetoric is that Democrats are such losers. Your experience as a lifelong conservative, that sounds about right. But what about your closest friend at work? The one who drove you to the hospital when you got the call that your husband had a heart attack at the gym and was being rushed to the ER. The one who sat with you at the CICU, then raced to pick up your kids from school and take them to her house. The one who helps you plan the funeral and shouldered your workload when you are out. She's not a loser. In fact, you love her and she's a Democrat. There's an example for the other way around, by the way. I would say that a lot of different points in the book, especially like the first half or so, how much political talk there is, but the thing that's really striking about it, that makes me not bothered by it at all, is the way she talks about it is very meta. In fact, I honestly don't even know if she's talking about politics. I think she's just talking about how we talk about politics and how politics talk about us. When she talks about the wilderness and what bewilders me, in some ways, I'm not sure there is a particular wilderness that she's talking about. Like fear or hatred or lack of self-respect or some sort of anxiety or frustration or shame, of course, because she's a shame researcher, Brene Brown. But I think that's on purpose. I think the wilderness is like a matter of self-understanding because we all have our problems on the inside that we have to work on. What seems like belonging to something that we're inextricably connected to something bigger than ourselves, it seems like finding the loose brick. It seems like what makes us human, finding the joy and the pain in what we experience as human beings and ensuring that those findings are real. Being able to relate to each other and understand each other. It's parents getting together after Sandy Hook to just assemble and cry, just to strengthen each other. It's people holding their wands up toward the sky. During the premiere of the last Harry Potter movie when Dumbledore dies. It's people getting together and watching the best Kobe games and talking about their best memories and all the value that he offered to their lives, how he inspired them and stuff like that. Whether you understand the words or the experience, what matters is that you understand the feelings and the connections. Like realizing you are the wilderness and you can brave your way through it is one thing, and you can't get something for nothing, but I will say, from my experience, that the reward is so much more than worth the effort. Don't study this moment, be in it. You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place. The price is high, the reward is great. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it requires you to be who you are. It's easier to be pissed off than to be hurt or scared. Direction 1. I recommend this book for anyone who has lots of problems with other people, or him herself, or both, that could definitely use solving. If you feel like you're constantly against people, this is definitely the book for you. If you feel like you don't belong anywhere you go, this is definitely the book for you, okay? Direction 2. If you like this book, I recommend checking out Social by Matthew D. Lieberman, about why our brains are wired to connect with each other. It's a little bit more on the scientific side of things. Social connection really is kind of a common theme throughout Braving the Wilderness, I noticed. That and Just Listen by Mark, what's his name? Goulston? But these are assuming that you haven't checked out Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, and also Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. Braving the Wilderness by Brené Brown. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out as well. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.